Well, thank you very, very much. The reason why I'm here is Matthew over there, who I used to work with at the Care Quality Commission, and is one of 3 people today who has called in favours for me to do a speaking event. So you're the middle one, and I clearly like him. Because this is Charlton Football Club and I'm a Sunderland supporter. And these so-and-sos beat us in the playoff finals in May. So actually, Matthew, there's all sorts of good reasons. You owe me several, all right? So what I wanted to do today was just to talk a little bit about what it is that I'm trying to do with the Nursing Midwifery Council and changing things in the way that we work at the NMC. And I'm also going to reflect a little bit on some of the things that we've done this year and what's coming up for next year. And then there's a very specific thing at the end around post-registration standards, which I want your help on. So I'm not going to kind of go over this in any great detail, but just to demonstrate that I've been in and around the health and social care system for quite some time. Obviously, I don't look like that, but I have. And the key thing that links all of these roles, I'm not a nurse, I'm not a midwife, I'm just a bog standard general manager. But the reason why I do it is so that I can make a difference for people who are using services. And that goes through every single one of these roles, whether I've been managing services, helping to set standards at NICE, helping to ensure that adult social care was being delivered appropriately when I was Chief Inspector at CQC. And now it is my absolute privilege to be the Chief Executive and Registrar of the Nursing and Midwifery Council and to support you and your colleagues in what you do. And one of the other reasons I started off this morning bigging up nurses who work in adult social care. I'm here for district nurses now. One of the very important things for me and for the NMC is to be reflective of all of the different settings and all of the different roles that nurses and midwives have across the 4 countries that we work in and the different settings. Because actually each and every one of you is important. And whilst people may get their view of nursing from watching Casualty and Hobie City, we all know that there's an awful lot more to it than that. And I've had the pleasure in all of these roles to work with lots of different people doing that. So just very briefly, in terms of what the Nursing and Midwifery Council do, I would hope that for the vast majority of people in this room, you don't need to have this slide because you know already. We are indeed your professional regulator. We set the standards. We're here to shape the practice of nurses and midwives on the register. And we are the world's largest health and care professional regulator with nearly 700,000 people on the register across the whole 4 countries. And we set those standards. We support the maintenance of the register, expecting revalidation, so really ensuring that you're getting the continuing professional development that you require and deserve, and obviously if there are issues, dealing with that through fitness to practice. But it's an important job for us to be doing, because actually what I know is that you and your colleagues touch the lives of every single person in this country every day. One of us here will have somebody, and we may not know it, but is having an interaction with a nurse or a midwife in our family, in our friend, in our wider circle. And what we do impacts on everything that they do. So, what better job could somebody who wants to make a difference actually end up doing? But what I wanted to talk about, I didn't get much of a brief for today, it has to be said. We did ask, but am I still being okay here? Okay. We didn't get much of a brief, but what I thought I would do is to use the structure of what I said to the team when I first started at the NMC on the 14th of January this year. So I hit my 10-month anniversary next week. And I knew that they'd be wanting to know what kind of a chief executive I was going to be, and what we would be wanting to set out and do. And what I thought was I'd kind of use this framework to feed back to you, both on what it is that I've been trying to do, but also what's happened at the NMC this year. So the first thing that I said was that I wanted to be an active chief executive, that I wanted to make sure that we were engaging with people, and we were engaging with people across all of those different settings. And one of the things that I said to my interview panel, and thank goodness they still gave me the job, was that if you looked at our website, we looked very London-centric and we looked very acute hospital-centric, and not really as inclusive as all of those different areas that I've just mentioned. So I wanted to make sure that both I and the NMC were much more visible externally, and for me internally with my colleagues across the Nursing and Midwifery Council. So that's the reason why I do kind of regular blogs, and I'm fairly active on Twitter. And if there are those of you who kind of fancy it, I apologise for the football, the cat, and anything else that you don't like, but you can follow me at Crouch End Tiger #7. And if you fancy finding out why I'm Crouch End Tiger #7, you can ask later. I then said that I wanted to be a natural chief executive, and that what all that was about was ensuring that each and every one of us at work can bring our whole selves to work, because that's the way that we get the best out of people, if they can feel confident in themselves and in what they do. And for me, that is about celebrating the diversity of the workforce, both within the NMC, but also across our entire register. And it's about responding to some of those things. So we've got some fantastic staff networks within the NMC, and we had a brilliant LGBT History Month in February, and we've just had the most amazing Black History Month in October, culminating in 2 really wonderful sessions, one about leadership and one with the creator, one of the actors and the script consultant of Top Boy. And there's a blog on the website from a couple of weeks ago that talks all about those things, which you can have a look at. But really what that's all about is making sure that people feel confident that being themselves, either as a nurse or a midwife or a nursing associate, is fine by the regulator, but also for colleagues within the organisation. And what I also wanted to do was to make sure that we reflected on what matters to people. And we're very blessed in the health and social care world with days of this and weeks of that, which enable us to do that. And so some of the things that we've been involved in over this year around suicide prevention, mental health awareness, and Baby Loss Awareness Week, where for the first time ever, we managed to persuade our estates team to light up the building in blue and pink. We did have a bit of a sucking of teeth and sort of not sure whether that's going to work, Andrea, but as you can see from the picture, we got it done, which was fantastic. But again, it was really about making sure that people are connected with all of these things, because it matters to folk in terms of what all of you do, but what we do within the NMC too. I then said that I was going to be determined about making a difference, making sure that the public were confident about what we were doing and how we were doing it. And also that those of you on the register would feel confident about what we were doing. So one of the things that happens when I get out and about and talk to people about the NMC and say, what do you think about the NMC? The first thing they say is, you take £120 off me every year. And then the second thing that they say to me is, I'm scared of you. Because actually you've got the power to take away my PIN number. And I know how important that PIN number is to you. But for my money, I don't think making sure that people get the best and safest care possible is delivered by making nearly 700,000 people scared of their regulator. That's not the way to support you to deliver really great practice. So again, some of what we're doing is trying to make sure, and particularly through how we're developing our fitness to practice strategy, is that we are conscious of the context in which you're working, that we are looking to be proactive about identifying issues that can actually assist people rather than waiting for there to be a problem. And that if we do end up with somebody being in one of our processes, and that's as a registrant or indeed as a member of the public bringing us concerns, that we treat people with kindness, we treat people with dignity and respect. We still have to be rigorous and robust, absolutely, but we still can do that in a kind, considerate way. And that's what I want us to be achieving in the way that we do that. And particularly making sure that we're doing that in co-production with all of those people that are involved. Because I'm not the font of all wisdom. My fabulous team are not the font of all wisdom. We can only get this right if we're working with others. But what if we are going to work with others? We've got to be responsive. We've got to actually make sure that we're listening to people, that we're learning from others, that we're being available, that we are open to change. And there is no point kind of being inauthentic about this. You've actually got to demonstrate that if somebody raises an issue with us, that we will respond to it. And sometimes that's just going to be plain explaining what it is that we do and why we can't necessarily take that on board, but actually we should do that explanation. And in other circumstances, it will mean that we will change things. So I got challenged a few months ago about the letter that somebody had received when her registration had lapsed. Now, actually, after 45 years, it hadn't lapsed. She'd made a deliberate decision not to continue. But what she got was a letter that said, your registration is lapsed. Do not practice as a registered nurse, or else, all of those kind of new. But no sense of, you've worked for 45 years and bloomin' heck, you've been fantastic and thank you very much. So not unsurprisingly, she was a little bit upset about this, posted on Facebook, somebody else took it onto Twitter. I lost 3 days of my life responding to all of that. But we've changed those letters. Yes, we still do have to say to people who might have inadvertently lapsed their registration, you are committing an offence if you actually continue to be a registered nurse when you're not registered. But equally, we have to say, and we are now saying, but if you've done that on the basis of actually stepping down and it's a deliberate decision, thank you very much for your service. It doesn't take much for us to be responding and changing to that. And the other thing I just wanted to pull out of here as well is about responding and listening to stories. And one of the things, that Black Leadership event that I just mentioned, one of the things that I took from that was this brilliant quote from somebody called Brené Brown, which is, maybe stories are data with a soul. Which I just think is fabulous, because we've all got stories. We've all got anecdotes or things that have happened in our practice and in the way that we've done things, which actually, if we think about those stories, they are data, they are intelligence, they are kind of research, they will help us to make a difference. And it just really resonated with me in terms of how we can do that. But I also wanted to be enthusiastic. And I wanted the NMC to make sure that we were connecting with the enthusiasm that so many of you have. I mean, it was lovely listening to Julie just now, and as you said, the passion for kind of, what's happening there with the Buurtzorg model, absolutely brilliant. But there's so many people who are doing, really fantastic, innovative things, supporting people in all sorts of different ways. And as I say, your work touches the lives of every single UK citizen in some way, in terms of yours, not just the people in this room, obviously, but the 700,000 people on the register. And actually, why shouldn't we be at the NMC enthusiastic about that? And it's really important for me that the person who sits in finance or in performance management or wherever within the NMC recognises that they're not just shuffling papers for shuffling papers' sake. They're making a difference because they're supporting an organisation that supports all of you. So being clear about that and being enthusiastic about it, really very, very important. Now, I ended up with ambitious. Now, the thing about this acronym that I've just used, has anybody worked out what it was? A for active, N for natural, D for determined, R for responsive, E for enthusiastic, A for ambitious is Andrea. And as a way to think about what might your leadership style be, use your own name, see what you can come up with. But although I was incredibly self-centred in using Andrea as the way for me to kind of share this, my ambition is not for me. You know, I've got from being a working class girl in the northeast of England to a position I'd never dreamt of. So I'm not ambitious for me. I'm ambitious for the people who are on our register. I'm ambitious for the people who work at NMC. And I'm particularly ambitious for the people that you and your colleagues support so they get the best and safest care possible. And that's what we've got to do at the NMC in terms of going forward. So some of the things that we've done this year, we have launched the new nursing standards. I hope that everybody's kind of up to date with all of that and making sure that we're moving forward with ensuring that the new students that you will be having who will be being trained with these new standards are actually getting the experience that they need. So your continuing professional development needs to reflect what these new standards are saying, because you are going to be an absolutely critical part of supporting the new nursing workforce for the future. You've obviously already been speaking about nursing associates today, and the register opened at the end of January this year. So of course I had nothing to do with it apart from go along and have the photographs taken in the reception at the House of Commons when we launched the register. But I mean, one of my great pleasures this year has been meeting nursing associates when I've been out and about. A prouder group of people you couldn't wish to meet. Absolutely fantastic. And I did go along and help give the certificates to all of the London nursing associates, which is where I got my baby cuddle, if you spotted that picture before. Absolutely brilliant. We've also been working on the future midwife standards and thankfully managed to get those signed off at the end of October, which is really, really wonderful. And I do think that those, like the future nurse standards, will be shaping the practice and making a huge difference for people who are using those services in the future. We've launched a new overseas online registration process, and we've also launched a new service, which I forgot to put on the slide, called Careline, which is to provide emotional support to registrants who may be going through our fitness to practice process. We established one for the public last year, and now we've got one for registrants. And I think that's really important to kind of demonstrate our commitment to supporting people who will be going through a difficult time. And this year is a very important year for us because on the 23rd of December, we will be celebrating 100 years of nursing being a regulated profession, because that's when the Nursing Registration Act was passed 100 years ago. And I don't know about you, but 2 days before Christmas, I will be running around still buying Christmas presents, and some years past I've also been still writing unforgivably Christmas cards. So it's not the time to have a celebration really about 100 years of nursing registration. So we're celebrating it in the run-up. And the way that we're celebrating it is actually to share stories of nurses, the amazing things that they've done, starting with Ethel Gordon-Fenwick, who was the first nurse on the register and whose campaign it was that actually got us that amazing milestone. But lots of other nursing stories as well, including district nurse, including care home nurses as well. So please take a look on the website and see all of those. Looking ahead to 2020, I've had the great pleasure this year of coming in at the end of our current strategy, which started in 2015, and we've been working on developing our new strategy for 2020 through to 2025. And we've just finished consulting on that. And these are the 5 key themes that we were consulting on and really did resonate. Lots of feedback that we've had from nearly 4,000 people who responded to the survey. But these, I think, will be the themes that we will keep, and they will be very much shaped by that feedback. So first of all, having a dynamic approach to shaping practice, really thinking about what's technology doing for us, what are new models of care doing for us, how do we make sure that we're responding to that appropriately to support you. Building our relationship with the public and critically making sure that they understand what it is that we do and that their concerns about nursing and midwifery care and what they want out of our professions informs the way that we work. So that's kind of key to us in that. We also want to strengthen the relationship with our professionals. I mean, like I said before, making you scared of your regulator ain't the way to go. What we need to be doing is thinking about how can we work together to really promote and value the absolutely critical work that you do, and also to support you going forwards. And one way we definitely can do that is making better use of our research, the data on our register, for example, the insight that we get in our fitness to practice cases, so that we can influence the system in a much broader way, so that we can help people to understand what they can do to actually support a safer, better care for the future. And the only way, again, that we're going to be able to do that is in close collaboration with other people, working with organisations like the Queen's Nursing Institute and Crystal, but also with employers and with individual organisations, so that we can really be understanding of the context in which you are all working and make a difference in that way. Now, I think that Crystal has already given a plug for this, so thank you very much, Crystal. I will pay you the £5 later. But the post-registration standards, really very important piece of work, which is going to take us from this strategic period into the next. And as I'm sure Crystal may have mentioned, the post-registration standards for SPQs and SCIFN are woefully out of date. And that has been kicked down the road quite a few times over the last few years. But we do really have to sort it out. Now that we've got the future nurse standards, the nursing associate standards and the future midwife standards sorted out, this is what we've got to really turn our attention to. And I'm so glad that David Foster has came through the process to chair the steering group that is going to help us with this work. And what I think that's going to help us with is not just sorting out this aspect of the register, but also providing a bridge into one of the issues that's been raised with us in the consultation, which is all about advanced nurse practice. And what should we be doing about that? And how should we be doing it? I mean, clearly, given that I was at the Care Quality Commission and I'm doing this job now and I used to work for NICE, I am a born regulator. But I do also know that regulation is not necessarily the answer to every question. So we have to really think about this carefully, about what we should be doing and how we should be doing it. But we do have to do this in collaboration with others, and particularly across the 4 countries, because the way that district nurses, for example, are working and the teams within which they're working is starting to be different in the different countries. So we've got to be very mindful of that. So I think Crystal has encouraged you to be involved already. I would absolutely add my voice to that. Crystal, you're going to be on our steering group as well, aren't you? And so there'll be all sorts of different ways that we will be inviting your comments and thoughts. There's a quick question. Get in.
Dr. David Foster, is he a doctor of medicine or a doctor of nursing?
He's a doctor. He is both a nurse and a midwife. He is just fantastic. So he ticks lots of different boxes, and he's also a Queen's nurse, and he is the chair of the Foundation of Nursing Studies. So his credentials are just fantastic. I mean, like I say, we did put him through a process. I mean, sort of, as I'm sure you can imagine, being interviewed by me is not an easy thing to do. But he was just brilliant, and I think he will bring such a lot of insight, but also the skill that I think we're going to need to meet all of the different needs that people have and the things that they're going to want us to do. So, great question. Thank you. So that's what we're going to be doing next year. And what I just wanted to end up with is, as I'm sure you can tell from the way that I've made this presentation, I'm very, very positive about the job that I do, and the reason why I'm positive about the job that I do is because of the job that you do. Because I wouldn't be doing this if we weren't making the difference that we make in the individual roles that nurses and midwives have across the country. And district nurses play an absolutely vital role in supporting people in the community and enabling people to have their healthcare needs met, but also have their aspirations for the way that they want to live their lives met. And my parents are now in and out of using different aspects of health and social care. And I know, particularly from my dad, how important the district nurse is to him. She listens to him. She responds to what he wants. She kind of makes connections for him that, absolutely need to be made. And it makes a difference. And believe you me, it makes my life a whole sight easier. It's not just the individual, it's their entire family that you are supporting as well. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for that. It is important. What you do is important. You are, frankly, amazing. Thank you all very much.